It is a huge honor today to be interviewing Jack Hadley, who, in my mind, dude, you're a legend.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
right.
you are. When I got out of dental school, the hot thing was the yellow pages. And if you got into the yellow pages, all the old dentists thought, "Oh my God," they'd always say to you, when you go, if you had cancer, would you look for an oncologist in the yellow pages? I mean, you're just like a bad guy. You did direct mail, you're a bad guy. And almost everything that was like the next big thing when I got out of school in '87 is now like dinosaur stuff. And
Yeah.
you were the leading pioneer in social media, in advertising on social media. I mean, you jumped on the Internet of Things, and you've been leading the way on social media for so long. And I'm so honored that you gave me an hour of your life today, because so many dentists, I mean, I hear it all the time. They're like, Howard, does Facebook really work?
Yeah.
Or should I do that Instagram, or should I do Pinterest or Twitter? And the bottom line, here's your problem, Jack. Here's your absolute problem. By the way, I hope everybody's only listening on this on iTunes, because if they're watching this Dental Town video or YouTube video, you're just gorgeous. You got all that hair. You got 3 Ironmans under your belt. I only have 2. You beat me on every category. But here's your biggest problem is the fact that these dentists studied algebra and calculus, and applied math is physics, and we got A's in that, and applied physics is chemistry, and we aced that, and applied chemistry is biology, and we aced that, and then we went to dental school, and we're dentists. And we didn't take 1 hour of advertising in the old world, newspapers, radio, billboards, and TVs, and now it's the Internet of Things, and you've got to try to explain in 1 hour why a dentist who really just wants to go to the Pankey Institute, they have fantasies of going to Seattle and seeing Dr. Coyce lecture live, not Jack Hadley about a Facebook ad. So, and it's so important. So my first question to you is, why should a dentist whose number one fantasy is to see, Coyce in Seattle at the Coyce Institute, and now instead of listening to full mouth reconstruction and how to do a better root canal, now I've got to listen to this social media thing, and if I hear Facebook one more time, we're going to puke. Jack, why should a dentist pay attention to social media?
Well, I admire, and first of all, thank you for having me. We've been trying to get together with a little visit for a long time, and our schedules have never lined up. So I'm glad they lined up. Thanks for inviting me to visit.
Well, I'm in Phoenix, and you're in Utah. You're in Linden, Utah, which is a suburb of Salt Lake.
That's correct.
I've always wanted to do that drive. I've driven to the Grand Canyon several times and hiked it rim to rim, and you take a left turn over the Hoover Dam to Vegas. But how do you actually get to Salt Lake? Would you go through Vegas then on to Salt Lake, or would you go around to Lee's Ferry on the east and go up?
Go through Vegas, and we're about 5 hours north of Vegas.
Are you kidding me? You're only 5 hours north of Vegas? Okay, because Vegas is... when I go to the county meeting, it's 5 hours door to door, because they built that new bridge over Hoover Dam, so you don't even slow down. It used to be, crawling through the dam.
There. Yeah,
so it's 5 hours Vegas. So I could be at your house in 10 hours.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
and
well,
we'll go skiing this winter. How about that?
Well, I actually want to do the drive, because everyone's told me that the other half of the drive to Salt Lake from Phoenix is just some of the most beautiful, gorgeous country.
It is pretty.
Yeah. What do you go through? Do you go through Bryce Canyon or?
Well, those are a little bit off the beaten track. If you get off of I-15, you can hit, I think there are 6 national parks along the way you can hit along the way. But if you stay on the freeway, you miss most of that.
Man, I can see why the pilgrims stopped at Salt Lake, because that is got to be one of the most gorgeous terrains. If you've never seen Utah, wow, it's spectacular skiing, spectacular hiking, hunting. I mean, it's you live in a winter wonderland. So, but back to the point.
Okay.
I want to learn full mouth reconstruction and how to bone graft around an implant. Why should I be listening to Jack Hadley for an hour about this damn Facebook stuff?
Well, I'll tell you, I really admire how dentists are able to be the technician and at the same time run a business. It's just amazing to me how you wear so many hats. And one of the hats you know and understand that you have to wear is a marketing hat. The days, in the old days, and you made reference to the old days of Yellow Pages, it was easier for a practice to write a check to the Yellow Pages, write a check to the billboard company, maybe write a check to the radio spots. Maybe they were doing TV, to the direct mail house to send direct mail. They could kind of write those checks and then sort of step back and not have to be so hands-on involved with marketing. But today, consumers expect more. They expect this transparency and this ability to approach people and to get responses. And so it's really necessitated that practices that participate a little bit in their marketing. And so the best way to participate is through social media. And if you can figure out ways to manage that so that it doesn't consume all your time, it's really the best way to not only stay in contact with patients, because social media is primarily internal marketing. It's not really external marketing. There's external components that result from effective social media marketing, but it's mostly communicating better with patients and enabling patients to help you tell your practice story. And so I think not only dentists, but all small business people have been a little bit backed into this corner where they have to participate. And even, the fact that other people are kind of defining the brand for a small business now, and they do that through what they say on social media and through review sites, it's necessitated that a practice become participatory in that process. So that's why it's important, I think.
Okay, Jack, I need to back you up a little bit because after 75 podcasts, we passed 100,000 listens, and so I'm trying to guesstimate what all the questions are. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so I want to start with what even is the definition of social media? And you also dropped two other terms that someone doesn't know, and that's internal marketing versus internal marketing. So could you explain those three definitions?
Sure. Yeah, sure. I think the best definition of social media marketing is, there's two or three that are good. One is that it's relationship marketing. One is that it is patient-driven marketing. And what I mean by that is, people have been making recommendations about the brands and products that they love ever since there were backyard fences for neighbors to speak over. And so what's happened is that word of mouth combined with the scalability of social networks has created this concept of community-driven marketing. So I think the best way to think about social media is to think about it that way. It isn't about you going out and with a big bullhorn and just pound, 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 pound like the old days of advertising. It's about you better telling your story in such a way that you enable other people, primarily your biggest fans, your alpha audience, your patients, to then help you spread that story. And I think that's probably the simplest definition of social media. Now, back to internal and external marketing. I think that because of the way we grew up and with how advertising works and marketing works, we primarily think about marketing and advertising as external marketing. We put out things, we broadcast things, we put out a coupon, we put out a special, we put out an ad, and we're always putting out to the world messages. Internal marketing, on the other hand, is again allowing your alpha audience, your patients, to then make that external component spread. So you're primarily talking to patients through social media most of the time.
So the most interesting thing I've seen in my 28 years is, and you said it eloquently, when I got out of school in 87, all the way to Lehman Brothers financial crash and economic depression in September 2008, you could buy new patients. If you bought if you did the direct mail piece, if you bought the full page ad in the Yellow Pages, they were coming in. And it seemed like in 2008, you couldn't really bank on buying patients. When I look at the 75 to 80 bankruptcies in 2009 and 10 in my backyard in Phoenix, Arizona, after that economic collapse, that was the deal. They just couldn't get new patients.
Yeah.
So you really can't just buy new patients.
It's much more difficult. Now there are some markets, and prior to 6 or 7 years ago, before we started my social practice, I had half interest in another little marketing company called SUM Media, SUM Media, and we did a lot of traditional marketing with dental practices, and we did a lot of direct mail. And some of those direct mail campaigns could be super effective. They were somewhat expensive, but we could show pretty good return on those. There are still some markets where direct mail still does okay. So I don't think all traditional marketing has gone away.
What do you think some of those markets, is that just like, and is there any clear, like rural versus urban, small town of 5,000 versus town of 1 million? Do you see any differences in marketing between a Salt Lake versus a town of 5,000 out in southern Utah?
You know, in terms of what's happening today, I'm not well enough connected with traditional direct mail as I was back then. Back then, I think large urban areas did well. We had clients that did really well in Seattle. We had clients that did real well down in San Diego. Seemed like it was mostly metropolitan areas, but that has been a number of years ago. So I don't know now. I only hear on the periphery because I still have some friends that are doing direct marketing and some of the more traditional.
Okay, I want to just get right to the 4,000 pound elephant in the room.
Yeah.
I'm my average podcast listener's got an hour commute to work, and he's driving to work, she's driving to work, and she's saying, "Jack, cut to the chase. What I need another 15 new patients a month. If I had 15 more new patients a month, man, all my numbers would be in line, my overhead would be where it's at. I'm just running at about 80% capacity, and I've already paid my rent, mortgage, equipment, bill, computer, insurance. I've paid all my bills. Damn it, if I could just have 15 more patients." So if someone called you up and said, "Jack, get me 15 more new patients a month," what would you tell them?
Boy, that's a good. Boy, I don't know how I'd answer that exactly, but I do have some ideas of what I would say. First of all, and I know this will sound like it's not direct enough, but social media, absolutely hands down, is a long-term investment in your practice. And the way I sometimes when I speak and have a chance to talk to practices, I'll compare it a little bit to the telephone. So it's hard to really assess the return on the investment on the phone that you pay your phone bill every month, and yet you would never dream of doing business without a telephone. And there are a lot of reasons for that, and mostly having to do with communicating and staying in touch and with your patient base. Social media is a little bit that way. It's hard in some ways to directly attribute new patients to it because often patients will see you in many different places online before they actually have the need for a new dentist, or they get tired of their old dentist and the old dentist does something they don't like, or they need a new one, or they look for a recommendation, they ask their friends on Facebook. That could be after they've been exposed to a number of your social media accounts and messages and platforms. So you've got to kind of look at it as a long-term investment in the viability of your practice to create a more thriving practice. In the shorter term, though, one of the things that has really not taken off, but really become very apparent to us in the last year or so is the power of reviews and how reviews tie in to social media in creating quicker traction in terms of more calls, more visits. If someone's saying, "I need new patients and I need them now," I think the first thing I would do is say, let's talk a little bit about how you're using reviews and how you're integrating reviews into your social media strategy, because they're absolutely connected.
Oh, okay. Now, when you talk about reviews, I only hear really of two things. I hear Google reviews, I hear of Yelp reviews, and I hear of Amazon reviews on books and products. So go through those. So where does the average American read a review? Is it Google? Is it Yelp? I know Amazon's product. I know that at 52, I know that 3 or 4 years ago, I never heard this. And now I hear this all the time. Someone will say, "Well, you know, I went to Amazon and it seems like everybody was saying this about Samsung and this about iPhone, or I was going to buy this book, but they gave me the first chapter." So I know Amazon's product. And so for a patient, are they more likely to read a Google review or a Yelp review?
The vast majority of reviews are read on Google, hands down. I mean,
any percentages?
No, I don't know off the top of my head.
No
But
problem. We'll just make one up.
yeah, there you go.
We'll go with 86%.
84, I believe.
84. I love that joke.
But
92.8% of all statistics are made up. But you say vast majority, but you really couldn't quantify it. I mean, are you thinking 2/3, 80%, 90%?
Here's the better way to think about it. I think that the vast majority of reviews that people have easy access to are Google reviews, and that's because most people, if they're going to search for a new dentist, and they're going to use the internet to search. Now, lots of people won't do that. There are a lot of people that they might do a little preliminary research on the internet, but they're not going to choose a dentist based on a Google search engine results. They're going to go to their Facebook page and they're going to say, hey, any of my friends out there in the city in which I live, out in Provo, who do you love? I'm thinking about getting a new dentist. Who do you love? And if you have 500, 600, 800 friends, statistically, about 54% of those friends likely live in the geographic area in which you live, because you have family members and friends in New York and all over the country, right? But about 50% of them live locally. And so if you put out on Facebook, who do you love your dentist? Tell me about your dentist. I'm thinking about a new dentist. More people will make a decision based on that kind of feedback. But in initial research, people are putting in search engine, they're going to Google, and they're searching dentist in Provo, Utah. And so whether or not how many they're actually reading, I think the quickest access people get is through Google reviews. Now, Yelp is strong too, and I know there's a lot of hate out there for Yelp, and a lot of it is very well deserved. But you cannot ignore Yelp. Yelp is still an important place where people search, and whether or not they're making decisions there, I don't know.
So, at a Yelp review, would someone go? Sorry, I'm ignorant on this, but would they just go to Yelp.com? Mm-hmm. How do you do a Yelp review? I've never done one.
Most people that do it on their phone. So you download the Yelp app on your phone.
Okay, you need the app.
Yeah, and you just do it. I think, I don't know what the percentage is, but many Yelp reviews, I think, are just done over on the telephone, on their cell phone.
There's some threads on Dental Town on Yelp. If you go to Dental Town, there's 200,000 members, and we're just coming up on 200,000 members. We're at 198,600, awesome. And we're just also coming up on 4 million posts. I think we're going to hit 200,000 members and 4 million posts about the same time. But if you do a search for Yelp, there's some nasty threads. Basically, this is what they're saying. Now, I don't know, if it's true, but the thing about Dental Town, they're all dentists. I mean, they got 8 years of college, so it's not like they're making this shit up. But basically, they're saying that if they became a Yelp member, that their bad reviews go away, and then if they stop being a Yelp client or customer or whatever, then their good reviews go away, and the bad reviews come up, and they feel like they're held hostage. Does that happen, or is that just totally crazy?
That is in part true. And I'm not an expert on it, but I've read enough to know that in fact does happen. At least that's the outcome of what happens. Now, it's never described in that way when you talk to Yelp about it.
You would think that's extortion and would be illegal. You'd think the government would step in.
Well, they've been through a number of lawsuits, and in each case that I'm aware of, Yelp has come through and been able to show that, I don't know how they do it, great attorneys, I suppose, but they're able to show that their practices are okay. I mean, I don't think they've lost a case yet. They've been sued a lot of times.
So they're not doing anything illegal. They're just probably what you would call as aggressive.
Yeah, they're aggressive. And here's the thing. The very best way, I think, to handle Yelp, if you've had a bad experience or whatever, is the same way that the Mormon Church handles criticism of the Mormon Church. And the way they do it is they do everything they can to flood the internet with great stuff about the church in such a way that it just continues to bury the bad stuff. And the thing is, if you get a bad Yelp review and you can't get rid of it, or Yelp holds you hostage or whatever, then just go in and get more good Yelp reviews. I mean, if you get a couple of bad reviews, you're expected to have a couple of bad reviews. I mean, everybody has a bad day. Everybody has somebody they can't please. Everybody has somebody that just has a thorn in their crotch and just can't get over it, right? So the better way than fighting with it is sometimes just to overwhelm it with good stuff.
Yeah,
If you,
I got a review guy, and he went nuts because I adjusted the opposing plunger cusp, and he just lost it. He's like, "Oh my God, you just drilled on another tooth. You were doing this tooth, and you just drilled on everything." And I explained him the whole dang thing, and and it was funny. He kept saying, whenever I try to explain to him what I do, and he'd say, "Well, I'm a warehouse manager." I mean, he was the default. Whenever it started to get complex, I'm a warehouse manager. I would never do this. And I'm just like, wow, you're a warehouse manager, you know? So yeah. But what percent of people do you think reading reviews? So what you're saying is that most people, when they get to 50, realize that there's a lot of crazy people out there.
hey,
At 52, I'm convinced. Seriously, Jack, I'm convinced I'm the only normal person on earth. I have not found any other normal people. But so you're saying that most people assume if you're a restaurant, somebody wasn't happy.
absolutely.
But if they're reading the deals and 4 out of 5 people are good, that'll work. So you're saying just work on getting your happy customers to write a review.
Absolutely.
And would you help them to write a review on Yelp or Google, or what? How does that work?
The reviews that will get you the most traction are Google and Yelp reviews, period. Now, there are lots of other places to review. You can review on Facebook. There are a lot of companies out there that have a review system that sends the patient an email after they leave the office, and if they leave a review, it gets archived somewhere. And sometimes if they leave a good review, they'll get another email that says, would you mind copying and pasting that and go and put it on Yelp or put it on Google, which doesn't happen very often. So there's lots of places where reviews take place, but the ones that really make a difference, not only in the fact that people learn about the practice, but in terms of Google search results love, are Google reviews and Yelp reviews. I don't know if you've noticed, but Yelp has a huge presence when it comes to Google algorithms. If you search a lot of things, especially services and restaurants and hotels and professional services, you'll see a lot of Yelp results coming up on page 1 of search results. They're a strong player, and Google takes them very seriously, and that's why you can't ignore Yelp. But getting Google reviews and Yelp reviews, I think, are the very best place.
Okay, so I'm a dentist. I've never even, okay, so this dentist driving to work, and he's saying, okay, I'm out there in Salina, Kansas, and my name is Jack Hadley III. How would I even know if I have a review? How does this dentist listening in a car know if anybody's reviewed them on Yelp or Google?
The best way is, if this is all completely foreign to you, is go to Google and put in the search bar Google Business. That'll take you to Google's landing page for small businesses. And it's very simple. Google will walk you through whether or not you have claimed your local listing for your practice. And they'll help you through that. In fact, they're becoming more and more helpful. It used to be it was kind of difficult to get support. Now there's a phone number right there. I mean, you call, they pick up the phone. They're anxious, because Google's anxious to provide the best content they possibly can. And if they can do that by having better information, that's what they want to do. So go to Google, make sure that you've claimed your business listing, which has been kind of converted now from a local page to a Google Plus page. And that's why Google Plus is important, because it's basically your Google Plus page is the place where your reviews reside. So make sure that your Google Plus, that your listing is claimed, that your Google Plus page is in order, and you'll see on there whether or not you have some Google reviews.
Okay, look, I'm going to nail you down specific. So you're saying open up Google, the browser, and go in the search bar, put in Google Business, and then type in what, your name?
Yeah, it'll go to a landing page for small businesses, and you can click. I think it says Get Started. I think it has a Get Started button, and it'll walk you through the process of claiming your Google listing. And it's not difficult. It takes a few minutes, because what's happened over the years is, as other directories and other search engines have proliferated, a lot of misinformation about your address and your phone number. For example, if you listed 234 First Street as your address in one directory, And then in the next directory, it was 234 first ST period, and street was not written out. It could be that the internet has two listings for you, which hurts when it comes to trying to find you online. So Google will help you kind of look through that and find to get clarity on your local listing. And sometimes you need a little bit of help, maybe from a search engine company, to help you clean up some of your listings. But the thing is to get that cleaned up so that you can then direct reviews there. As far as Yelp goes, I don't know that they have the process of going through and claiming. I don't know. I can't speak to that. I don't know the specifics of how you go about finding if you have Yelp reviews. I'm guessing you just put in the name of your practice and they'll come up if they have.
And do you think it'd be the name of the practice or the name of the dentist? What if that's two different things?
I'd check both. I'd check both. Yeah, I don't know. That's always a problem.
The problem with me on the Internet of Things is I'm the second. My dad was Howard Eugene Farran. I'm Howard Eugene Farran the second. Oh my God! The last time I went to the government, I forgot what I needed. I needed something, and they told me I was my dad, and I said, okay, do I look dead in 78? Pretty sure I'm alive in 52. And the lady said, I'm sorry, I need your birth certificate. And then in Kansas, anyway, long story short, I had to have family members go to Topeka to get a piece of paper. So I can see the difference between street, STREET versus ST, because I think anybody who puts a Roman numeral 2 after their kid ought to at least pay for their college.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
You need to tell my dad that. He did exactly the same thing. I'm Jack Hadley the second, not Junior, the second. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's crazy. So I'm going to do that Google. But so the first thing I was thinking, Jack, is I would want you to start looking into this for me. So I want to ask you. I want to get to the point of view. Is 6 years ago you started My Social Practice with some of your buddies. What do you actually do? If I'm driving my car right now and I'm listening to you, what could you do for me? And my first question would want to be: are you only dental, or are you dental, chiropractor, vets? I mean, is dentistry your forte, or?
Yeah, we started in dentistry, and for the first 5 years, we were strictly dentistry and orthodontics. We have quite a few orthodontic practices as clients as well. And then about a year ago, we ran into an opportunity with an optometry group. And so we are doing some beta work with some eye doctors. But short of that, the complete history, we've been specific to dentistry.
What's the name of that company that was in all optometry for 25 years, and now they're coming to dentistry? Do you know
that's who we're working with. It's called Vision Source.
Oh, Vision Source.
And their dental line is called Smile Source. And so the reason that we were doing a lot of work with Smile Source with their dental practices, and that's how we got introduced to the folks at Vision Source. And so,
and I'm very interested in this because it looks like dentistry is going through what optometry went through 25 years ago. Because Lee Optical, so optometrists were all independent practice when I was a kid, and it was horrible back then because one of the worst summers of my life is my best friend and I were horsing around, and his glasses got broke, and so he couldn't get in the doctor for a month. Mm-hmm. And then they sent off the prescription, and he can get his glasses by 6 weeks. So basically, the whole summer he was blind because he was basically legally blind.
Yeah,
and I just felt horrible. We were messing around, and and his glasses got broke. And then Texan came along, and it's Pearl Vision, wasn't it? That the first?
Yeah, and he said, one of those.
And he basically said, Howard's buddy and people like him should have to go a summer blind. And they put in the frames and the machinery, and they said, we're going to give glasses for about an hour. And then, so the big chains came out.
That's right.
So then what is it called? Vision Source?
Vision Source.
This Vision Source came along and said, you know what? If you're going to compete against these big corporate chains, you need some sophisticated purchasing, buying, whatever. And they've been crushing it for 25 years. And now they're coming in dental. You were at the Dental Vision. That's where I ran into you last to set up this podcast. Yeah. So so now they're doing that. So now you're working with Vision Source for the optometrist and Smile Source for the dentist?
Yes. And
is it Smile Source?
Smile Source, yes. Okay. And I think you're right. I think that dentistry is going to go through some of the things that optometry went through 20 years ago. And the neat thing about Vision Source with optometry is not only do they band together to do the buying power, But not only are they competing against chains now, but now, you know, Walmart has vision centers, Costco has vision centers. I mean, everybody is in the vision business at that kind of corporate level. And Vision Source is defending the independent eye care not movement, but defending the independent optometrist. And really, dentistry, you know, there's a lot of movement towards. I listened to a podcast with Gary Takis and Gordon Christensen about a year ago, where Gordon talked a lot about some of this movement in dentistry towards all this corporate dentistry that you see going on. And so I think Smile Source has positioned themselves pretty well at something coming
Jack,
up.
you've been an astute MBA businessman. You've lived half a century like I have. What is, from your 30,000 feet, business, marketing, social media, and not being emotionally, you know, I believe a lot of people emotionally get anchored to something. Like if you're a dentist, you have these emotional thoughts about dentistry. But since you're not a dentist and you've been watching us for a long time, what kind of impact do you think corporate dentistry is going to have?
I think it's going to have a big impact. And I think that's in part why it's important to establish these other channels of relationship marketing. Because, you know, corporate dentistry can come in and they can be cheaper, or they could be faster, or they could be a whole lot of things. And they've got the budgets to advertise. I mean, they can write big checks. So, you're starting to see some of those ad campaigns about dental implants coming from some of the large, you know, chain implant companies that I think they just built a facility in Salt Lake and spent, I don't know how many $1 million on a one-stop shop for implants.
Which one was it? Was it Noble Biocare's?
No, I'm trying to remember the name of those guys. They run commercials on television in the local market here. So they've got big checkbooks behind them. And so I think that people that have solid relationships with their healthcare providers, including their dentists or orthodontists, are going to be able to better preserve those relationships if they are on an ongoing basis. I mean, if you only see your dentist and only hear from him, you know, once or twice a year when you go in for a cleaning and you have no other relationship with him, I think it's much easier to be kind of tempted by some of these big messages and big discounts and in one day, and we do everything in one place. So I think it's going to be a competitive environment.
I think because I've lived through this. You know, when I got to school in '87, Orthodontic Centers of America, you know, Lazarus out of New Orleans, and he made it to the New York Stock Exchange, $1 billion capitalization. There was a dozen on NASDAQ. They all exploded. But the red flags that they're going to have to beat, in my mind, I mean, nobody can predict the future. But the big flags that they're going to have to overcome, I believe about half the people just won't buy on price. They just don't have the money. They can't buy a Cadillac. If their insurance says you got to go to Jack Hadley to get it done, they're going to Jack Hadley.
Yep.
And the other half are really particular about who's going to touch their mouth.
Yep.
And the number one complaint I get from all the chains around Phoenix is every time I went in there, it was a different dentist. Every time I went in, it was some kid, and then, well, where's the kid that worked on me last time? He's gone. So the chains, if they're not going to be able to keep dentists for 5, 10, 20 years, they better start competing on price and have the insurance locked up. Because I do believe out of 330 million Americans, you know, at least 160 million Americans, if their insurance said, hey, you want a root canal and crown? You got to go to that box over there.
That's
If
right.
you go any other box, you're paying for it. They'll say, oh, no, I'll go to that box.
That's right.
But the other half, where people are very particular, then they're going to have to slow down their staff turnover, and they're going to have to use social media to develop a brand that it's them. They're Jack Hadley. And this is Jack. And if you want Jack to fix your teeth, he's been fixing teeth in Utah, blah, 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 blah. So Jack, again, I'm driving to work right now.
Yeah.
And I'm still not sure what I'm supposed to do, and I'm also not sure what you could do for me. What does social practice do? I mean, if I call you, is it a monthly? Is it a one-time retainer campaign? Is it a monthly fee? Do you build like my Facebook page? Do you do anything other than Facebook? Do you do direct mail or yellow pages? Do you, instead of just Facebook, they hear things like Twitter? They hear Google Plus, they hear Pinterest, they hear Instagram, they hear Snapchat. Some of these things
Yeah.
I don't even know the words I just said. I don't know
Yeah.
what Snapchat or I think Instagram kind of like a picture deal like Pinterest.
Yeah, Instagram's owned by Facebook and is
That's
experiencing
right.
huge growth right now.
Okay,
And
so
yeah,
tell us what you
so
do.
well, basically, my social practice, we have two areas of focus. Social media is how we started and how we've grown our business, and we are primarily a content company. And what I mean by that is that it's our goal to make a practice successful in social media marketing and effective with their social media marketing in 10 minutes a day is our goal. And we do that by providing them with content. We have daily content, different types of content that we provide because we don't do social media for the practice because it doesn't work. That's why we don't do it. A practice has to participate at a certain level for social media to be effective.
But
And
wouldn't that
so,
be really easy? Because every doctor, I don't care how old he is, he's got two assistants, a hygienist, a
yes,
receptionist. One of them is on Facebook.
yeah, and the thing is,
What percent of the non-dentists in the office would you say are on Facebook in your experience?
well, the national average is about 72% of everyone that walks through the door of a dental practice is logging onto Facebook several times a week.
72%. And what percent of the dentists do you think are on Facebook?
It used to be quite low, but I've noticed when I go and speak in venues where there may be 100 practices in the room, it used to be I'd ask how many have a Facebook page and actually use it. I might have 10, 20% raise their hand 2 or 3 years ago. I'm seeing 3/4 of the room at least raise their hand. Now, whether or not they're using it effectively, that might be another story.
Okay,
But,
so you're why does it not work
so,
if you do it for me?
well, because just at its core, fundamentally, social media is about transparency and engagement. I'm not in your practice. I don't know your patients. I don't interact with them. I don't have a relationship with them. And so some practices think, well, great, their website company calls them and says, hey, we just decided to offer social media and it's all automated. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to talk to your patients. You don't have to respond. You don't have to be involved in relationships at all. We'll just auto post a bunch of stuff and now suddenly you have social media. But social media, effective social media isn't something you have, it's something you do. And it doesn't start online, it starts inside the practice. And so for that very reason, we built the company based as a content company. We're going to make you successful with social media, and we're not going to do it for you, but we're going to make it so that you can do it effectively, quickly, with great content. You'll know what to do. You don't have to spend 5 hours a day. You spend 10 minutes a day, and you can be effective if you have great content and you know what to do with it. So that's our first product, is a social media product.
Is Deanne Zost your daughter?
No.
I don't think I've ever logged on to Facebook and not seen her hold up some picture that Jack Hadley gave her. My God, if she's not
awesome.
if she's not your biggest fan, I don't know who is. I wish I had a cheerleader like that.
We got to get her to come to Utah and work for us.
Yeah,
awesome.
she just loves you. I mean, she just loves you, loves you, loves you.
She's a sweetheart.
So you're gonna give a dental office things to post. Like I always see Deanne. Is it Deanna Zost? Deanne Zost?
Yeah, Deanna.
Deanna Zost. I always see her holding up like cute little signs and things, like the ones behind you.
Yes.
So if I sign up to social practice, is it a one-time fee? Is it a monthly fee? How does that work?
It's a monthly fee. We don't have any setup fees. We don't have any contracts. We've found that we don't need contracts. We have a high retention.
And what is that monthly fee?
It's retail's $349 a month.
$349 a month.
With no fee, no upfront fees, and no contract.
But if they're bald, do you feel sorry for them and give them a discount?
It's $348.
It's $348. So if I call up Jack and I give you $349 a month, you're going to tell. What are you going to do? You're going to send me pictures seriously, I'm embarrassed to say this, but when I think of you, I think of Deanne holding up these signs. She's always with a patient.
Do you know why that's so important? Because of what I said a moment ago, and when I speak, I tell practices, if you don't remember anything else that I tell you today, remember this one sentence: effective social media doesn't start online. Even though that's what you think, intuitively, it's Facebook, it's Twitter, it's online. It starts inside the practice. And so half of the content that we provide to practices are things that they can use inside the practice to engage with patients. Because remember, this is primarily directed to patients, because patients then use their trusted networks to spread your message. So that's why you see Deanna use it. She uses so much of our in-practice
Are you
materials.
mailing her that stuff in
Yeah,
a
we
box?
we ship all of our practice content so that they can immediately just open the box and start using
So how
stuff.
often do you come down to Phoenix? You're 10 hours away. How often do you come to Phoenix, Jack?
I've been down in Phoenix 3 or 4 times this year. Yeah, I don't know if I'm down there right
Well,
away.
next time you're down here, you're going to come to
I'm
my
gonna come
office,
in.
and I'm going to pay you the $348 a month because I am bald. I'm going to use your services. I'm committing right now live. I'm going to use your services because nothing that you said is just Deanna. I just want to be like Deanna when I grow up.
We'll
But
send Deanna over.
so when you say this is all, is this a fair statement?
Yeah.
So basically, you said reviews, the lion's share was Google and then somewhat Yelp, and everything else was not really significant. Would you say that social media is basically just Facebook? Just spend all your time on Facebook. Is Facebook the lion? Is it the 80-20 rule? 80% Facebook, 20% everything else? Is that fair, or is that not fair?
It still is. It's absolutely the 800-pound gorilla in the room, and it will be for quite some time. If you look at the latest reports on social media usage, it's still absolutely. Now, some of the other platforms are growing.
And you know why that is, don't you?
Why is that?
Because Mark Zuckerberg's dad was a dentist. That's the whole reason. He was raised properly.
There you go.
He's a good kid too. He's a good kid.
Yeah,
Mark Zuckerberg is a good kid.
That's what I hear.
His mom and dad, Mark and Karen, and everybody will vouch. He's amazing. I can't believe he's already been out there a decade.
Isn't that something?
And man, I don't think Ed could be more proud of his boy.
Yeah, but, I heard some of that.
So if 80% is Facebook, what's the other 20%?
We're having
and finish your story. Why did Facebook buy Instagram? What is Instagram, and why did Mark Zuckerberg buy it?
So Instagram is a photo sharing service, or a photo sharing platform. And the neat thing about Instagram right now is that it's the way Facebook was years ago, where content is not being filtered. In other words, if I follow your Instagram page at your practice, I see everything that your practice posts in my feed. There's no filtering taking place.
Like Twitter. Twitter does that too, right?
Yes, exactly. Twitter is still that same model. But Facebook is not that same model. And it's because they spent a decade getting 1.42 billion people to sign up when they didn't really make any money. And then they recognized, hey, we've got the audience now, and there's only this much bandwidth in a news feed. We can filter that news feed to make money. And so what's happened is you've kind of gone to a pay-to-play model with Facebook. And that's one of the biggest questions that I get. In fact, we shot a video yesterday that we're going to release next week about boosting Facebook posts. Because what's happened, a year ago, 20 to 40% of the content that you published, or excuse me, I shouldn't say it that way, 20 to 40% of your Facebook fans would see the content that you published as a dental practice. Today, it's about 1 to 4%, unless you boost the post. So we've been doing a lot of experimenting with practices on what does it take to get the view and the reach back up into that 30 and 40%. Typically, it takes about $5 a post. So we're recommending to our clients that they budget $100 a month for Facebook, because it's the best dang money they'll spend in terms of being able to reach how many people they can reach with $100, and boost their posts each day for using $5. So if they're doing 20 days, 20 days times $5, they're spending $100 a month. Because if you don't boost, nobody's seeing your stuff. So no matter how good your stuff is, and we provide awesome content to our clients, but if nobody sees it, it doesn't get liked, it doesn't get commented on, and it doesn't get shared. It doesn't spread if they don't see it.
So you're talking about can you do this off the app or the phone, or does it need to be on desktop? That's where you see that little boost post.
Yes. And once you set up with Facebook and get your credit card information and such in there, it only takes an extra second after you've posted your post on Facebook to boost it. It's really simple to do.
Now, can you go back and boost posts that you posted a week ago or a month ago?
Mm-hmm. Yes, you can. Yeah, you can. So you want to make sure if you're going to spend money boosting posts, make sure your content's good. So, and great content. I had a chance to speak to the American Academy of Orthodontic, the big orthodontic convention in San Francisco last week, and I talked to them about how the I lost my train of thought. I was talking about, what was I talking about?
Well, the boosting the post.
That they have to spend this $5 to kind of
I'm actually taking notes on it.
bridge that gap. If they don't do that, nobody sees their stuff. That's the point. And you can't share stuff if you don't see it. And the reason why this is also important right now is because that bandwidth, Facebook knows how valuable it is. And you know who else knows how valuable it is? Big brands like Nike, like Adidas, like Ford. They know that bandwidth is extremely valuable. And the day will come when a dentist won't be able to afford what that bandwidth is going to cost. Now, that may be several years from now, but Facebook knows they have a huge audience. They are still have the lion's share of social media audience. And so right now is really a good value for small businesses, including dental and orthodontic practices, to be able to pay for that little bit of bandwidth with $5 to get back to 40% of their, if they have 1,000 fans on Facebook, 400 of them will likely see their content if they spend $5.
But you said before you boost it, you were saying first make sure it's a good post, a good content.
Because if you're sharing stuff that nobody likes and nobody cares about, then why spend money on that? It's not going to get shared because it's not good stuff.
So you're saying it is $5 to boost a post?
You can start less. No, I think you can put as little as like $2. And we've been experimenting. We've worked with some practices and been spending 3, 5, 8, 10, 15, 20. We've been seeing where it lies. And obviously the more money you spend, the better. But it seems like at $5, at least right now, maybe this will be different a year from now, but at $5 you can really get back to the levels of engagement that you saw a year ago on Facebook. And I know where I was going with my orthodontic talk a second ago. So when I spoke to the orthodontic group, I talked about the 6 types of content that most likely will be shared through social media. And my good friend wrote an article in Forbes about those 6 pieces that I spoke about at the orthodontic convention in San Francisco. But we've looked at tens of thousands of posts in social media and analyzed what types of content seem to do the best. And there's really 6 types, and you can learn more about what those are on our website. But
and what is your website? MySocialPractice.com?
That's correct.
So is it www.mysocialpractice.com?
That's correct.
Okay.
And so if you're going to spend money, I'm just saying, if you're going to spend money on things that will most likely get shared and commented on and liked. Because you don't want to spend money on stuff that people don't like or don't care about. So that was kind of the...
what are the 6 things?
They are things that, number one, things that engage in some way. And maybe they have no other purpose. They don't provide any value or anything else. They're just interesting. And sometimes they're dental related and sometimes they're not. I mean, not everybody thinks about dentistry all day in the world, right?
I once went an entire weekend without thinking about dentistry. And it was the worst weekend of my life.
Now, you are a perfect example of someone who finds content that is interesting and fun to read about, and probably... I would guess that at least 50% of it is related to dentistry. When I look through, you and I are connected on all the social accounts, so I watch what you do.
Well, on Facebook, I only post about dentistry.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
On your other accounts, I guess you're probably...
You mean on my dental office, Today's Dental?
I'm looking at your Twitter page, your Google Plus page, and as I think about it, it's probably more. It's probably
the only thing I ever post about is dentistry, or a joke about dentistry, information about dentistry. Yeah. But then I do some personal, not because I'm a narcissist, but because I think people want to know who you are.
Yeah.
So things that are define me, like I do Ironman, so sometimes bike, swim, run picture, or the most thing I'm proud of in my whole life is my 3-year-old granddaughter, who was my reward for not killing all 4 of my boys. And I'm so glad I'm not in prison today. And I have a 3-year-old granddaughter, and so I do that because I
But
want to know who the person is.
remember your audience though too. You know, probably the bulk of the people that follow you are in the dental field,
Right, right,
and
right.
so your content is spot
Oh,
on for
I
those people.
see.
When you're a dentist,
So, because I
you're
got 2 Facebook pages, one for my dental office, Today's Dental, and one for Dental Town. So you're saying on Facebook.com/Howard Farran, they're all interested in dentistry too, but you're saying that would be different posts than on Facebook.com Today's Dental, because my patients don't want to think about dentistry all the time.
That's right. That's right. Your patients want to think about the things that they want to think about. And so the idea is to give them content that endears you to them, that they like, that they think is valuable. But it doesn't always have to be about dentistry. Now, if you have a good audience that loves your stuff, it's really good and important to weave oral health, whole body health, dentistry. I mean, those are topics you can absolutely weave into your feeds and the things that you post. But you don't want to be posting about dentistry every single time to that audience. And so number 1 was engage. Number 2 is content that provides value. Now that could be a whole bunch of different things. It could be things that provide value about their comfort, about their whole body health, about their appearance. I mean, when you look at dentistry's messages, every message that comes from dentistry, I believe, falls into one of those 3 things. It's either about comfort, whether that is physical comfort or emotional comfort or financial comfort or whatever comfort means. Health, it's about their health, and heaven knows there's an awful lot being said these days about the connections between oral and whole body health. And appearance, which is about all the things that dentistry is about: restoration, about prevention, about cosmetics. So comfort, health, and appearance, I think that those 3 topics kind of embrace this whole concept of value. So content that provides value gets shared. Number 3, content that reveals practice culture. Now, you may not believe that your practice has a culture, but if you start thinking about it this way, it does have a culture. Do you do Toys for Tots once a year? Do you do a little 5K to raise money? Do you do Habitat for Humanity? Do you do anything in the community that enriches the community or that shares the culture of your practice? Anytime you talk about the culture of your practice, people like that, and people like doing business with people they like, and they share that content. Number 4, any content that raises the clout of the practice. And what I mean by that is, let's say that you go out and get trained on a 1-hour crown CEREC system, and you bring that into your office, and you talk about it in terms of saving the patient time, not having to come in twice, not getting numb twice, however you position that, that raises the clout of your practice. Or let's say you go out to the AACD annual meeting, and you're there and you're learning how to be a better dentist. Post that on Facebook. Post that on your accounts, because what it does is it raises the clout of your practice in the eyes of your patients. And finally, 5th, anything that builds relationships. If you can talk about the next marathon that, let's say you're a hygienist, this is the first marathon she's ever ran in her life, and she's been training hard for it, talk about that, spotlight her, and congratulate her on what she's doing, because people in your community know her, and they like her, and they're connected to her on social media. I mean, the average person on Facebook has, 300 friends or whatever. I don't know what the average is, but if you can highlight those relationships, that kind of content gets shared. So whenever you're going to post, and especially if you're going to spend money on it, look at it and say, does it do one or more of those 5 things? Some things do 2 or 3 of them. Some only do 1. But if you use that as sort of a gauge, you're going to produce and post content that gets shared. And that's what you want it to do.
And when they make a post, should they go all out and take that Facebook post and then repost it on Instagram and Google Plus and Twitter and Pinterest? Or what are your thoughts? How would you
usually I get asked that a lot, and my usual response is, if you're kind of just getting started with social media and it makes it easier for you to kind of link those things together, and if you post one place, it sort of auto posts other place, I think that's okay in the beginning. But as you become more familiar with how different platforms work, I think it's much better to learn how to use all the platforms because they're all a little bit different. They have subtleties. As you know, you do a lot on the number of platforms. And so, yes, spread the word, but don't auto-post if you can learn how to not.
And by auto post, you're talking like that automatic Hootsuite thing?
Yeah,
Hootsuite?
just kind of connecting everything together. You've been to
Yeah.
Twitter pages where post after post after post just says, it has a Facebook URL there. It says, oh, I just
Yeah.
posted a photo, Facebook. I just did this on Facebook.
Right. And I never click them.
Yeah, and people don't really like that. So
I'd want to see the photo on Twitter.
that's
And,
right.
and I don't understand the Twitter people because if all your Twitter posts are Facebook, well, get the hell off Twitter and go to Facebook. I mean,
Exactly.
I want to see a post on Twitter. I want to see the post on Twitter. If
That's
you
right.
if you get a
That's right.
photo, I don't want to link that. Go to Instagram.
Yeah.
If all your posts are leave Twitter and go to somewhere else, just go there and
Yeah,
play.
just go there. I agree. And
Yeah.
so going back to I think how this started. Our first product is this social product, and it's a content driven product. Our second product is our reviews product, and we have developed an application that allows a practice to get Google and Yelp reviews right inside the practice from the patient's cell phone. And that's we actually posted something yesterday on our blog called Google Plus and Zombies. And in that
I
post,
read that. I read
did you?
that. I read that, and I forwarded it to my entire team.
Oh, good, good. Well, we talk a little bit in there about how important and how it's been difficult to get Google reviews inside the practice, and that's why typically what happens is people get an email after they leave the practice, and then you're asking them to do it twice. You're asking them to review, and then if it's a good review, they get another email and it says, oh, would you mind copying and pasting your review and go find Google or Yelp and pasting it in there too? And the conversion rate is very low on that kind of a process. But we have a product where you can actually send a text message inside the practice to the patient's cell phone. They touch on that. We have deep embed software that opens the Google or Yelp app on their phone, and they can do a review right there on their phone while they're sitting in the chair.
Now, is this part of that $349 a month?
No, this is a different product. This is called MSP Reviews, and that's a different product, and I think it retails for, gosh, I don't get involved in that part. I think it retails at $249 or something like that a month.
$249.
Nope.
And is that also, Jack, is that fair to say that that's online reputation management?
Yeah, and you know the term reputation management, I think, has kind of grown up with its own sort of identity, and in reality, it just means being able to listen to what's being said about you, and then harnessing the power of reviews. I think that's what online reputation really means. I don't know that the term has any more really definitive meaning than that. You can listen to what's being said about you with a simple tool like Google Alerts. You can go into your Google account and set up an alert, put in your name, your practice name, your name without your initial, your name without your credentials into what's called Google Alerts. It's free. You can specify, do you want to hear about, if anything is said about you, do you want to hear it right when it happens, or do you want an email once a week? You don't want to get it all the time. And you can listen to the world through Google Alerts for free, and it takes you 5 minutes to set up. So half of online reputation management, and there are a lot of people out there that are selling products and they're calling it that because I think practices don't really understand what that means. But really it just means listening and being aware of what's being said about you. And then it's about empowering people to leave you great reviews. To me, online reputation management is just those two things. It's listening and getting reviews. I think
Okay,
it's simple.
I'm down to 1 minute, and
Yeah.
I'm kind of wondering, is Facebook kind of taking away the value of the dental office website? I mean, what's more important, the dental office website? Like you could go to my www.todaysdental.com, or you could go to facebook.com/todaysdental. So I have a Today's Dental on Facebook, but I have a Today's Dental website. And how do those work together?
Yeah.
And is one of them more important than the other, or do they
I
work
think-
hand in hand? Or
I think the tendency might be to think that these tools are more important. I look at them more as an integrated digital media strategy, an online strategy. And why websites are still important has to do a lot with the changes that are happening at Google. It used to be that your webmaster could charge you for an SEO package and could load your website with tons of content that could fool Google into thinking it was more relevant than it really was. Google is getting much, much, much smarter. And so they want original, fresh content on a website that they can crawl and that they can assess what's really going on inside the practice. So I think websites right now are more important than they've ever been, but they're a much different animal than they were even 2 and 3 years ago because of the changes that are happening at Google.
So when I sign up for that $3.49 a month and you're sending me stuff, that's not just to populate on my Facebook page. It's also stuff to populate on your dental office website.
Yes, and what we do is we really help practices. You know, when you say, hey, Dr. Jones, you really need to start blogging. If you say that, it's like, whoa, like this sounds, are you kidding? Blogging? This is hard. I don't know what to write. I got to learn, da, 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 da. But blog content is really, really important in terms of Google search. And it's becoming more important as Google becomes more sophisticated in the things that they're looking for. And so, no, our comprehensive package is not just things to put on Facebook or to hold up in your practice. It includes blog content, monthly campaigns. We send out materials like for Oral Cancer Awareness Month. We send out a bunch of campaign materials to put up in the practice and then help them write a blog post about it, about oral cancer awareness, and then spread that blog post throughout their social media footprint. So, no, it's just not about just handing content. It's about really having it.
So last time I was in England, England decided to get rid of oral cancer as a term because when you Google oral, the last thing that comes up is the dentist, and they changed to mouth cancer, and they think that has been far more effective because if you type in oral cancer, 14 trillion pornography websites pop up.
Come up.
But hey, I am out of time. I'm a minute over time. At a time. I wish on those amazing blogs, you know, Dentaltown has blog section. I wish you'd post those in Dentaltown if you want to.
Let's do it. I talked to Anne-Marie Gorsica about that the other day.
Yeah.
Who does that. And then I talked to your editor that does OrthoTown when I was at the ortho thing, and we're going to do some things on with some orthodontic content too.
And hey, I'm going to throw you under a bus right now. Any chance you'd ever do an online CE course for us on this?
I'd love to. I'd love to.
We just coming up on 200,000 members with 4 million posts. We put up 307 online courses, and they passed 500,000 watches. So this is a new thing, and like I say, you got an uphill battle because they really just want to learn about implants and bone grafting and root canals. But where you can hit them hard is, I believe the holy grail of dentistry is every dentist I've ever met wants 10 more new patients a month.
Yeah.
And if you can educate them on that and deliver that. But hey, dude, I love you to death. I totally respect you. I think you're a genius. I think you're cutting edge.
You're kind.
I hate you because you're better looking and you've done 3 Ironmans than my 2. But hey, thanks for an hour.
When's your next Ironman?
I don't know. It's 167 days, but I'm not counting. November 15th, 2015, Tempe Town Lake. That's what makes me get up at 5 o'clock every morning because I know when 3,000 people jump in that lake, I don't want to get swam over for an hour and a half.
I've done that race. I did the inaugural one, the first
2005.
It was 6. Was it 5? I did the first one that they did in Tempe Town Lake. Yeah, loved it. Beautiful place.
I love it. In all honesty, the water part scares me. It takes about 15 minutes to relax because when 3,000 people jump in a deal, you're getting swam over by. It was just like a punch and grab and tear fest until everybody kind of spreads out, and then you can get in a groove. But the first 15 minutes, there's no rhythm, there's no groove. It's just you're just trying not to drown.
Crazy.
But hey, love you to death,
Thanks,
dude.
Howard.
And I do want you to do more for my office. And so next time you're in Phoenix, look me up.
I will come by and I'll bring you a big box of stuff. How about that?
Yeah, and you tell Deanne Zost it's game on.
Okay,
it's game on. All right, buddy. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Howard. See ya.